presentation, and we have eminent speakers with us today as well. I thank GABA for this wonderful opportunity to be presenting on my paper, Blinding Lights. So, a brief introduction about myself. I'm architect Kalpa Vriksham. I'm running a small practice in Coimbatore called Vikalpa Design Studio. I am into research. I have a bachelor's in architecture and a master's in architectural journalism. I have done my research fellowship with the Charles Correa Foundation in Goa, where I had taken interest and notice about the topic that we have to speak today. So, as we all know, we always see a lot of gravity given to air pollution, water pollution, land pollution, noise pollution also. These are some types of pollution that's very common, that has a lot of gravity. There's so many policies and regulations in all around the world trying to mitigate and avoid these kind of pollutions, right? But light pollution doesn't actually get the kind of gravity that it should be getting. And as architects and stakeholders, we are really responsible. People who are in this room are the ones who are actually responsible into mitigating and taking steps towards avoiding light pollution. So obviously, artificial lighting has definitely changed the way we live as humans, how we behave, our patterns, everything has changed after the invention of the light bulb, right? So obviously, from the small candle to the recent LEDs and everything, the brightness of these lights has just increased phenomenally. And now here is where we are. So this is how a city looks from a height, from pretty far away. The amount of light dispersion or the glare that we speak about is so massive that, even 200 miles further from a city settlement, from an urban settlement, these lights are visible like a huge arc, the Noah's Ark. It's so huge and so eminent, and it is something that we always, like a fish that is inside the water doesn't realize that, it's in the sea. It says, I'm searching for the sea. There's a very good saying where, the fish is in search of the sea, which is actually inside the water, right? So like that, we are amongst light, and we could not realize how much it is affecting us phenomenally. And this is a broader scale. This is a classic example of what we're supposed to see. And how many of you, from your urban apartment, looking at the urban night sky, how many stars do we get to see? Hardly 5 or 10. Hardly 5 or 10. But that's not the case. If not for the beautiful stars, and they say stars are uncountable, right? The number of stars that we see today versus the number of stars that were visible in the night sky at least 100 years before is like nothing compared to it. Otherwise, if the stars are a portal to our creativity as artists and as creators, stars and the constellation, just looking at the night sky is our portal to open up our minds and creativity. And if not for this, we would have not gotten the Starry Night painting, we would have not got a lot of poems by Shakespeare. All creative people look towards the sky for inspiration, and we have lost the stars. And light pollution is not just the loss of stars. It has a huge impact on human civilization, on our ecosystem, on the animals and birds, and it is a huge menace these days. This is a small example of how the light glow is dispersed, and this is a light pollution map of Delhi in 2012. Just a decade later, you could see that the green spots have actually become brighter. Just a decade later, the usage of light, the city has grown horizontally, and also the light pollution is equally growing along with the settlements. And as I said, the environment is also getting affected. We depend on plants for food. Plants depend on the natural sunlight for its growth. And when there is too much artificial lighting, it loses its rhythm to, produce its seasonal fruits, or flowering seasons get disrupted. Animals and nocturnal birds and animals that depend on the night for its prey, they are hugely affected by this phenomenon. And humans also get affected because we lose our circadian rhythm. As it is, there is this night owls. We call ourselves, architects probably call ourselves night owls sometimes, because we tend to not stick to the natural light. We always tend to put ourselves burning the midnight oil. And that affects our circadian rhythm, it affects our melatonin secretion, and also there's a phenomenon called light trespass. You know, when we design beautiful houses and we put lights to make the house look beautiful, we often do not take into consideration the amount of light that gets wasted or dispersed into the sky, or the light trespass. You know, the light I put here in my house may, you know, in fact affect my neighbor, and no amount of blinds or shades could help the light trespass. And this is a classic example of, you know, too much light. This is a beautiful chapel in Panjim. When I was working in Goa, this was right opposite to my office. And this chapel is in 1880. It's a 2-century-old chapel, and it went through renovation around 2020. And this was done for Christmas decoration. For some reason, the architect or the designer chose to put lights facing upwards to make it look so beautiful. But even in February, the lights were still on, facing upwards. Over 50% of its light was dispersed into the sky. And honestly speaking, I felt like the beautiful chapel went through renovation and just got chicken pox. And this is the Atal Setu Bridge in Goa. I hope you are familiar with the Atal Setu Bridge in Panjim. So it's a beautiful, longest bridge in the South Asia. And this bridge has really powerful light beams hitting the sky, and that, you see, is a reflection. The green color orilla, you see the northern lights. It's basically the reflection from the clouds. It's that powerful. And this led me to my research on how light is proliferated into our daily lives and is affecting us so much that we've not taken notice of it. And when we took a 1 square kilometer area around the Panjim river, the Mandovi river in Panjim, it's a very ecologically very diverse zone. You have the river, you have a marshland, you have the reclaimed lands, which is the Panjim city in itself, and there's a beautiful sea also, the Arabian Sea that is close to the Mandovi river, the brackish water. So it's ecologically it's a very diverse zone. And this is also, unfortunately, is a major tourist hotspot which is attracting millions of tourists a year. So, and in order to, you know, when there are so many tourists, obviously the commercial aspects of tourism takes over. There's so much LED signs, there's static LED lights, there's moving displays right back on the middle of the road. And it's also hazardous for pedestrians and travelers in bikes and cars because they can easily get distracted. So much light bombarding at you, so much glare that's hitting your eyes, and we often try to just not look at it. So that's the whole point of my paper being named as blinding lights. So as, again, our architects and stakeholders, we are the ones who shape an urban or a built environment. So from an urban settlement to a small house that we would be designing, light plays a major role. We always try to overlook the effects of excessive lighting to the aesthetics of lighting. So we always focus on aesthetics rather than trying to understand how minimally can we provide or efficiently we can provide lighting. It's always like when you put up a statue and you want to, throw some light so that it gets highlighted, we don't see how much light actually we're wasting. Excessive artificial light also is the main reason why energy-wise we would be wasting over 80% more energy when we are not switching off the lights when we actually don't need them. So in that case, a lot of advertisements, there are public lighting, public building lights as well. These are always on throughout the night just to gain traction or to attract more tourists and clients. These are classic examples of unwanted usage of lights. And this is a beautiful photograph by astrophotographer Arun Siddharth. So we've been associated with him for the last decade. He has been doing this work for the last decade, and we've been associated with him for the last 5 years. We've been trying to capture light pollution along with the Milky Way galaxy. Milky Way galaxy is something that we're supposed to see with our naked eyes every day, wherever we are. But unfortunately, through the urban lights, we cannot see any stars. And this is a classic example that he wanted to, show in this beautiful picture. This is a city, Chennai city. That's the marshlands there, and you could see how the urban settlement and the light that is reflected from the clouds, and then there's the Milky Way galaxy. So we have started a foundation called the ArcWest Foundation, where we are trying to create more awareness on light pollution, try to involve more architects and stakeholders into understanding and understanding the gravity of light pollution and its effect on humans and the entire ecosystem. And this is one of our workshop that we had done in Kodinad, trying to create awareness on light pollution. We do workshops time and again, and the gentleman in black is the astrophotographer Arun Siddharth. And that's about it. Thank you so much for this opportunity.